and welcome to episode 21 of the Novels and Needles podcast. I'm your host, Heather, and this is my podcast where I talk about two of the things that bring me the greatest joy, and that's reading and knitting. Today is Friday, June 2nd. I can't believe that it's already June. I don't know where the year is gone. And I just want to say welcome to everyone who is tuning in. Welcome to all of the returning viewers. Thank you so much for those of you who come back and check me out every week. It really means a lot to me, and it really makes my heart sing to see so many of you coming back. So thank you so much for those of you who do that. And I also want to give a big welcome to any new viewers who might be checking me out for the first time. I hope you like what you see. If you do, please hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, that's totally okay. Move on. There's lots of podcasts out there for you to check out, and I hope that you find one that does suit your needs. So I'm going to apologize first of all right now. I am getting over having been pretty sick for the past week. So I'm going to try and edit out any like coughs and clearings of throats and things like that I might be doing. You might be able to tell my voice might sound a little nasally, and it's because I am getting over being sick. And I really debated about whether or not I was going to podcast because I don't have a lot to talk about, so this is probably going to be pretty short. But then I looked at the calendar and realized that I don't know if I will be able to podcast again before I have to move. So I wanted to at least get one more out there and get that one more out there. So you can find me on social media on Instagram and Ravelry. I'm going to put those places you can find me up on the screen. Please note my Instagram name, I did change it. So if you all of a sudden are a follower and you're seeing something different, that's why. So I just want you to be aware that that is a slight change that I have made and not to be too alarmed by that. Sorry about all the ums and the clearings of throats and things like that. Like I said, I'm getting over being sick. I was very, very sick. And I'm still my head is still pretty fuzzy, and this could be a really discombobulated podcast, so I apologize for that in advance. I do have a Ravelry group for the podcast, and that's the Novels and Needles Ravelry Group, so just give that a search over in Ravelry, and you should be able to find it. Over there is where I post show notes and any information that you might need. Please go over, join. There's an introduction thread. Please introduce yourself, say hello. I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. So, like I said, this will probably be a pretty short podcast because I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I have been feeling really crappy. I did do a vlogcast last week, and I'm going to continue to try to do that because that really isn't too difficult to do on the weeks that I am not able to podcast. So especially as I'm preparing with this move, look for those a little bit more maybe than a podcast. And they're really short. I think the last one was about 20 minutes, and I just take little clips throughout my week and kind of give you guys a rundown of what I am up to throughout the week. And some people seem to really like that. I've had fun doing it. I think it's kind of a nice way for me to chronicle this big change in my life. So I'm going to stick with that. And yeah. So like I said, I'm going to keep this short. I still don't feel very good. So I'm going to move right on now into what it is that I have been reading. Books that I've been reading. I did actually finish a book this past week or two. It's been 2 weeks since I've podcast, and I don't have it with me. It was the physical book because it was Abby's book, and she took it back, and I don't know what she did with it, so I don't have it to show the cover. But it was the second book in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. It's called The Son of Neptune, and this is kind of like a sequel series to the Percy Jackson series, if you are familiar with that. The basis of the Percy Jackson series is it's Greek demigods, and Abby and I read that series together and we really enjoyed it, and she started reading the Heroes of Olympus herself and decided that she really wanted Mom to read it too. So I've been humoring her and reading those books as well, but separately from her. So if you remember, I talked about the first book, The Lost Olympian, a few podcasts ago, and then the second book is The Son of Neptune. And in the first book, the first of the Heroes of Olympus, a Roman demigod ended up in the Greek demigod camp. And this was kind of like the first realization for the Greeks that there was another camp. Well, in this one, Percy Jackson, who is the star of obviously the Percy Jackson series, a Greek demigod who's the son of Poseidon, he ends up in the Roman camp, and which is called Camp Jupiter. And he, like Jason in the first book, he has no real memory of who he is. He has like some real vague ideas and some haziness, and he remembers the name Annabeth. And if you've read the first series, you'll know that Annabeth is the daughter of Athena and Percy's girlfriend. And Annabeth goes on all the quests and stuff with him in the Percy Jackson series. So he ends up in this Roman camp, and they're all a little like taken aback by who this guy is because he fights different and he acts different, and he is the son of Neptune. And Neptune, I guess, in Roman mythology is not as revered as Poseidon was in Greek mythology. Apparently the Romans were very leery of the sea, and so they were not as given to Neptune. And Mars, who is Ares in Greek mythology, he is like the patron saint of Rome, and he's the god of war. So Percy teams up with Hazel and Frank, who are two other demigods. Hazel is the daughter of Pluto, also Hades, and Frank turns out to be the son of Mars. And they go on a quest to destroy one of the giants of Gaia, one of her sons in Alaska. I can't pronounce his name, Ali Khanen, I think. And basically a whole new war is starting to brew now with Gaia and the giants, and it's going to take the demigods working together, both the Greeks and the Romans, as well as the gods coming in and assisting as well, to destroy them and to kill them and to win this war. So it's kind of a build up for that. And so on this whole adventure, we learn about the secrets of Hazel and the secrets of Frank, and Percy is starting to kind of come to terms and remember who he is. I will say they're an interesting group of books to read. They are entertaining. They are certainly not groundbreaking literature by any stretch of the imagination. I enjoy learning a little bit about the differences between the Greek and the Roman aspects of the same gods. There hasn't been as much with the myths played into this one. Like in the Percy Jackson series, it was kind of like there was some modern spins on some of the old myths, and those came up, and those stories came up. But that hasn't happened so far in this one, and I'm not sure if that will. So they are definitely entertaining, not gripping, spell-breaking, spellbinding. I'm so sorry. I'm so out of it. But I will say both of these books were very similar. They followed a similar plot, kind of the same story, just different characters, and that wasn't the most exciting for me. It was kind of nice in this book because there was Percy that you had kind of known from the first series, so that made it a little bit more interesting, but it's like the same story, just told with different characters. The third book is called Mark of Athena, and Abby's kind of pushing me to start reading that next. So that might be one of the next books that I pick up. I haven't decided yet what's going to be my next physical book. I will say I finished this book and read this book with 102-degree fever, so I could be completely wrong in what I'm saying. I don't know. My head is still fuzzy from being sick, and I feel like I'm just rambling, so I'm just going to stop with this book right now. I'm realizing it's maybe not a good idea to podcast while I feel this bad, but you know what? We're doing it anyway. You guys might get a huge kick out of this. This might make no sense. I'm sorry if it does. I'm in the clouds. What can I say? So I am still listening to an audiobook. It's the same audiobook I had just started listening to 2 weeks ago, and I did get through a good chunk of it because I had a big drive over the weekend, and not over the weekend, the last couple of days, and listened to a lot of it there. And that is American Gods by Neil Gaiman, and this is like a similar thread with the Percy Jackson thing and gods, and I don't know why that's where my thread is right now, especially I'm going off to be a pastor of a church and I'm reading stuff about other gods. I don't know. Anyway, American Gods is different. It's very strange. I will say that. Neil Gaiman is an excellent writer and he does a really good job of telling a story, but it is definitely very odd. The main character is Shadow Moon, who gets hired to work for Mr. Wednesday as a bodyguard, and Mr. Wednesday is an iteration of Odin. And he is trying to gather together the old gods to kind of fight a war against the new gods in America. And the new gods being things like technology and money and all of those sorts of things that are looking to replace the old gods. And so he is pulling together all of these old gods. And it's definitely interesting because he tells some stories about some of these gods that we're maybe not familiar with and weaves them into this tale of Shadow and Mr. Wednesday. But it is definitely a very strange book. There are some very strange scenes in the book. I know he writes super well, and I know he does his research very well, and it is an enjoyable thing to listen to. It's not exciting me a whole lot. I can appreciate the effort and the research that he did, and I can appreciate his writing style, but I don't know, it's not, for me, it's not that spectacular. It's hard to put into words because I know that Neil Gaiman is such an excellent writer, and it's hard to discount work when you know someone is because he's such a good writer, the fact that it's really weird doesn't matter. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. So it's a very strange story, and I'm glad that I'm listening to it and not trying to read it again, especially having been sick, because I don't think I'd have any idea what's going on. If I was trying to read it right now, being sick. I still am not sure exactly what's going on. But these are really terrible book reviews. I am so sorry, everyone. Yeah, these are really terrible book reviews. Hopefully next time it'll be a whole lot better. Neil Gaiman is definitely not for everybody, let me just say that, and if you like the out there and the, if you like the out there weird stuff, you probably will enjoy this. If you don't, I don't think you would like it. I only kind of like it. Yeah, I only kind of like it. I'll leave it at that. So that's American Gods. Not much more to say. I don't have any book acquisitions this week. I don't have anything else to say about books that I've been reading. This is like the podcast of apologies. I'm so sorry about all of the reviews and the fact that I'm totally not on this planet right now. And thank you for bearing with me as I have muddled through all of this. That's all for books at the moment. Next time, hopefully there will be more interesting things that I have to say and more coherent things that I have to say. So I'm just going to stop talking about books right now, and I'm going to move on to what I've been knitting. knitting. I think maybe I can be a little more coherent about this. I don't know, hard to say. I do have a finished object this week. I only have one work in progress. It's not that exciting of a podcast this week. I'm really sorry. So my first and only finished object was a pair of socks that I've been working on for a while, and I did get them finished in time to have them count for May, and they are my Devil's Snare socks. And this is a pattern by Erica Luter, who did Hermione's Everyday Socks. I'm just going to show you the detailing here of it. It's a fun knit. It was the pattern. It's a 10 pattern or row repeat of the pattern, and it just made it go really quickly as you were knitting it up. It just seemed like they really flew off the needles. And these are my 5th pair of socks from my box of socks, which I'm really excited about because that means that I am still on track for my box of socks. I do still want to get that accomplished. I did get these submitted in time for KT of Inside number 23's Harry Potter Cal. And so I did get my May entry in for that, which I was also happy about. The yarn that I used is Knit Picks Hawthorne, and it's the Mount Tabor colorway, and it's a really lovely tonal green. The Hawthorne base, for those of you who don't know, is a superwash wool nylon blend, and it has a little bit of that woolly feel to it, but it's still pretty soft. It's not super coarse or rough or anything like that. It just kind of gives them a really nice hardy sort of texture. And I knit these using my Haya Sharps, a US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter, which is my sock needle of choice. I did a 1x1 twisted rib for the cuff. It is a modified Eye of Partridge heel with a garter edge, and that's what the pattern calls for. And then I knit a rounded toe. And here you can see the pattern a little bit better this way on these socks. They fit really well. I'm really happy with them, and I'm looking forward to getting on my next pair of socks on the needles so that I can get number 6 on. Well, I guess I have those vanilla socks that I showed you last time that I have not worked on at all. I really should just like bite the bullet and finish those and be done with them because they're almost done and they're just kind of languishing on my needles, and it'd be nice to get another pair of vanilla socks going on those. So, yep, this is my one finished object. The only work in progress that I have going at the moment is the mystery knit along that Hoki Locatelli is doing for her starting point wrap, and so I am gonna show my progress on that. But I have been so sick that I haven't even been knitting. I just literally have barely knit anything, and it's been crazy. I just have not had the strength or the energy to hold knitting needles and knit, which is so strange for me. And I know some of you knitters probably can completely appreciate how bad one must feel to not even want to knit. And so I do not have a lot even to show on this. I will say Clue 4 just came out today. I do have Clue 2 done. I do not have Clue 3 done, but I have a good chunk of Clue 3 done. So I'm giving you fair warning right now. If you do not want any spoilers at all beyond Clue 2 or 3, on the starting point, Cal, you probably want to look away or skip ahead because I don't want to ruin anything for you. So you've had fair warning. Alright, I'm going to show the current progress on my starting point. And I'm just going to show you one piece. There are 2 pieces, but the other, I'm just going to show you one because I only have work on one of them for Clue 3. So here it is. It started, here is how it started, and then it's kind of gone up from there. And it still looks like a watermelon. I'm still calling it my watermelon shawl. So clue, I can show you, clue 2, so clue 1 ended right here with this dark green stripe, and then all of this up to this green here, or up to my pineapple, was clue 2. And then this is all that I've done on clue 3. I am close to being done with clue 3, but there's not a whole lot left on this piece. I haven't done any of clue 3 on the other piece, unfortunately, because I have not felt well at all, and I haven't even looked at clue 4. So keep looking away, people who don't want to see. I'm not going to talk about the pattern itself, but I am just going to briefly let everyone know what yarns I'm using. So yarn 1 is this right here, and that is from the Forbidden Woolery, and it is called the Forest of Dean, and it's from the Harry Potter Club. I think this was the April Harry Potter Club colorway, and that's on her charity base, which is 100% superwash merino. Color 2 is this beautiful color, which is turning out to be like one of my favorites ever. Let's see if I can angle it to avoid the blowout. And this is from Beautiful Mess Yarnworks, and it's called the Get Down. This beautiful, bright, minty green with these gorgeous speckles happening in it. It's just beautiful. And that's also 100% superwash merino. Color 3 is this pink color, and the next 3 are going to be from Knit Picks, and they're Stroll Base, which is 100% superwash merino, no, 75% merino, 25% nylon, and this is called High Tea. Color 4 is this dark green right here, which is called Aurora Heather. And then the last color, which I have not worked on, well, I guess it was in clue 2, is this, and it's called Mountain Pass. So I'm curious to see how these pieces are going to end up coming together. It's really pretty. I like the way all of the colors are playing together. I am quite pleased with the way that it has turned out. Yeah, you can look back again if you don't want to, if you're looking away because you don't want any of it ruined. So that's the Joji MCal. I don't know if I'm going to cast anything else on because I do want to get that caught up and see if maybe I can do that and get it caught up, because I'd really like to. I was all about staying on top of that one, and then I got sick and it just did not happen at all. I just was not going to be knitting. So that's all I have for my knitting. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot in this podcast, I'm afraid, guys. But I do have some acquisitions, which I'll talk about next. So I did have one acquisition, and that was the May installment of the Forbidden Woolery's Harry Potter Club. And so I'm going to show that now. I would assume most people have gotten theirs, but if you are in that club and you have not received yours, you might want to skip ahead to the life stuff that I'll be talking about a little bit. So I wanted to show that. And it was this color here, and this is called Hufflepuff, and this came, it is, I'm going to turn it so I can read it, it's her Babble colorway, and it is 70% superwash merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon, and it's the first time I've ever had yarn with yak in it, and it does feel really nice, and it is based on Hufflepuff. So this is the card that came with it. So I thought I would take just a minute and kind of talk a little bit about the yarn that I got from the Harry Potter Club for the Forbidden Woolery. So it was a 3 months that I was gifted for my birthday, and I just, like I said, I thought I'd just give a little bit of a review on it, and keep in mind this is just my opinion and my own preferences. They may not, yours may be different, and that is totally fine and acceptable, and that's great. I've been pleased with the quality of the yarn and the the overall quality of the dyeing of the 3 skeins that I've received. The dyeing looks like it's been done evenly. The yarn is really nice and feels really nice. But I will say the colors for me were a little bit more muted than I would have liked. I'm going to pop off screen a second. So I just wanted to show you the 3 colorways. So the first one was this, and this was called All Aboard, and it was based off of the Hogwarts Express, and this was on an MCN base. This I really, really liked, and I was really pleased with this skein. Even though, you know, they're not the brightest of colors, I liked it a lot, and I thought it was a nice color. I liked the way the socks that I knit with this knit up. They knit up very nicely. I was really pleased with that. The Forest of Dean came, and it is very pretty. It's a really pretty mossy green, but this is not my color, and so I was struggling with what to do with it, and so I've been putting it into the Starting Point MCal, and I've been happy with putting it into that. This, I don't care for the color. I'm really, really sorry. I feel like for a yarn club, kind of drab colors. For me, personally, if I was doing a yarn club, especially a mystery yarn club, I think that I would want the yarns that I sent out to be bolder and more vibrant and a better display of my ability to work with color. That being said, these are beautiful tonal yarns. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you are definitely into more muted palettes, you probably really love these. And they have a place. Don't get me wrong, they definitely have a place. But for me personally, I would have liked my club colorways to just have been a little bit less tonals. More along this line that has some different colors to it and some contrasting colors than just tonals. I mean, these are 2 tonals that came back to back, and one tonal I would totally have been fine with, but 2 back to back, it was really very disappointing for me. So I was kind of disappointed. Again, I hate to say that, but because the yarn is beautiful yarn and it is dyed very well, and I do think that they have their places. It's just, I wish that for a club colorway it would have been a little bit more, more color, I think. These will probably end up being socks, unless I find some other project that this will go as a nice accent color with. But I'm not the most excited about it. I'm sorry to say. So that is all I have for the reading and the knitting. I am going to touch a little bit on the life stuff for a few minutes, and then that's going to wrap up this podcast. So again, I apologize about how short it is. If you aren't interested in life stuff, thank you for sticking around and listening. I'm sorry it's been so all over the place and crazy. I appreciate you bearing with me to the end. Do look for vlogcasts in the next coming weeks if I can't get another podcast out. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and you'll see something from me next week, or you'll see a vlogcast from me next week, and life stuff is coming up next. So, as I mentioned, I've been really, really sick. Memorial Day weekend, I came down with 102-degree fever, and it lasted for like 3 days, and I just really have felt pretty bad the last week, and I did go to urgent care and got some antibiotic, but it hasn't really done a whole lot. I am feeling more myself today. I'm podcasting. Yesterday I didn't think I was going to podcast because I felt so terrible, but today I'm feeling a little bit more like a human, a little less like death. I was feeling really terrible. I did have to go up into Traverse City, Michigan, which is about a 3-hour drive from me, for a mandatory boundaries training to go into the pastorate. And I had to drive up there Tuesday and spend all day Wednesday in a seminar, and then I drove back Wednesday. And that was not fun, being sick and driving that far. Traverse City is a beautiful, beautiful area, and it was really disappointing that I just kind of had to be up there in and out really fast, and I felt so terrible. I got to my hotel and I checked in, and I basically took like a super hot shower and then just got in bed and went to sleep. It was not, I didn't get to enjoy myself at all, which was disappointing. And then I spent all day in this seminar learning about relationship boundaries between yourself and your parishioners, and how to kind of keep the distances that you need to keep to maintain the professional relationship that you have to have with them. And the workshop was not bad, but I didn't feel very well, and so it was really hard to kind of keep my focus through it. And then I had to drive back, which was not fun because I felt really bad. And I've just really I did that training, and the only other thing I've really done is like been in bed and slept. Gotten kids to school, picked up kids from school, somehow found food for them, and been in bed because it's just, I felt so terrible. So I hope, if this is something going around, I hope none of you have had it, because it really has kicked my butt. And that's been the last week for me. School is wrapping up, and so next Friday is the last day of school. We've been pretty busy with school stuff. Abby had a band concert last night, and that was her last one here, and so that was kind of bittersweet. And we are preparing for the move. I am still without a move date, and it's really making me feel anxious because now it's June. My appointment starts July 1st. I would like to know when I'm moving, and yeah, so I'm getting a little frustrated with that. I have taken a major setback with working on stuff for classes because I was so sick. I did do another pastor interview and observed a worship service, which was something I was supposed to do while I was sick. So I did get that done at least, but this next week, the last week that the kids are in school, I'm really going to have to hunker down and get some stuff done because I'm running out of time, and there's a lot still to take care of. There's a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it. So, yeah. Look again for those vlogcasts. Those have been kind of fun for me to do, and you'll see one of those next week. You may only see those until I get moved, and once I get moved, then I'll try to get a podcast out, and let's see what my new setup is gonna be. So this could be the last time you see me here. I don't know, you might get one more. Hard to say with what life is gonna throw, but you will see my vlogcast at the very least. So I'm going to call this a podcast. Again, I apologize about my head being in the clouds for most of it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week, everyone. And it is officially summer, so enjoy summer. Bye, guys.